Hi, this is going to be the highlights of what's sold for me on eBay and Poshmark since my last What Sold video, which I think was like 3 weeks ago. Maybe more. So this is just the hits. This is the good stuff. This is a board game that I got off of OfferUp in a big lot of board games, vintage board games that I got for 25 bucks for the whole box. This was the big bread-winning Grand Slam Slam Dunk board game. It's an old railroad tycoon type board game that wound up being basically new. These sheets of cards were all still intact for the most part. They were separated horizontally there in that one spot, but basically new, sold for 150 bucks, including free shipping. This is a sport coat that was part of a big bundle of sport coats and suits that I got all from one thrift store that I was super pumped up about. Wound up being kind of a face plant just a little bit simply because the timing was bad. The suit market got pretty depressed by COVID. However, I've been able to turn some decent ROI on those suits by pricing them way low. So this is a Zenya linen blend, wool silk linen sport coat that I had priced at like 99, priced it down to 50, and it did sell. This is a so-so brand, Paul Frederick. It's more so than so. I typically don't pick it up. It's not a great seller for me, and the numbers are not great. But I picked it up because it was outlandishly color blocked and 100% linen, and I had it for a long time, and lo and behold, it did sell come springtime. So linen stuff sells much better in warmer months than it does during the winter. This is a pretty good brand, Diesel, especially if you can get it for really cheap, which I did. I got this for probably around a quarter at a bag sale and sat on it for a while, flipped for 20 bucks. If you can get stuff for dirt cheap, then brand is not as important as long as you can afford to store it and you don't mind putting in the effort to list it. And it's probably took up that much storage space, so not a big deal. This was a Poshmark arbitrage flip, so I got a pretty decent deal on 5 pairs of Levi's 560s from a Poshmark seller because there were condition issues with most of the pants. I don't actually recall how much I bought it for. Pretty cheap. I got like a really sweet deal. Sold for 190 bucks. Here's one that took an astonishingly long time to sell. This was one of the oldest items in my store. It's a Travis Mathew Cadillac logo embroidered polo shirt for women. Could have been the size. Travis Mathew, in my experience, recently has lost quite a bit of its sheen as a reselling brand. You can still do it, but it's not as fast of a flip as once it was. Still worth picking up if you can get it for cheap, for sure. This one was in the inventory system video. This is a big Cholo shirt. Sold for 18 bucks. This is also one from my inventory system video. So Wamaker does period clothing, sold for 80 bucks. Interesting teachable moment with this one because I had it listed at 150, and because I came in and offered 80, someone snatched it up. And I had made offers and no one had really bid, but I hadn't gone this low. I think that's actually probably a viable strategy that you can implement on purpose, is price your stuff way up and accumulating watchers and then coming in and way dramatically undercutting your own asking price. So something that might be worth playing around with. Brooks Brothers, because it's such a huge brand, a little bit treacherous in terms of selling, not universally worth picking up, but this was a 100% lamb's wool turtleneck. And I think I picked it up for like a buck. I think I got this for really cheap, and I had it priced up too high. I think I had it priced around 50 bucks. Dropped the price, someone bought it at 30 bucks. This one is an example of me trying to source just with my eye, and it didn't really pay off. So this is just a terrible brand. I thought because it was floral, because it's 4XL, it should have no problem selling. But it took months and months and months. It might have taken over a year to sell and didn't sell for that much, 17 bucks. I wanted to include this just for bragging rights. I sold Morona, another bag sale item that I got for probably 25 cents, flipped it for 10 because it was new with tags. As you can see, it was chambray, which I talked about in the last video. and it didn't fit the person, so wound up being a return. But I did sell Morona. Here's a vintage card game that was part of that board game lot and sold for 15 bucks 29 cents on an offer. Cards I actually don't recommend picking up unless you know that they are potentially exceptionally valuable over, like, I would say minimum 20 bucks, because I got a big pack of, not a pack, like a big bundle of decks of cards, and it took a long time to count out all the cards, make sure they were all there, sort them into cohesive decks, and then list them. It was too much trouble, more than it was worth. But 15 bucks 29 cents on a $25 buy. So I don't know what cost of goods was, but it was pretty low because there was a lot of stuff in that box. Yet another 100% linen shirt that had been sitting in my inventory for way too long and sold for 19 bucks come the warmer months. I think that this is going to continue to be a trend, as it is every year. 100% linen pieces tend to have much higher sell-through during the summer, spring and summer. One of my favorite brands ever. I found it twice. Both times I found it, the shirts were covered in flaws. You can see in the photos here, the condition was just awful. That's some pretty major pilling there, and it was covered in stains. And I actually bought this off Poshmark. The condition was not advertised, and I got a full refund on it. So cost of goods was $0, and it still sold for $17. That is the power of CC Filson. Also got this hoodie for free off of OfferUp. It was in the video about the big garbage bag full of garbage that I got, and this sold for 26 bucks. Some basic Levi's 569s that I got as part of a bundle off of Poshmark. I think they just threw this in there because they wanted to get rid of it. So I don't know exactly what the cost of goods was. It could have been free. This is a really good knife brand to be on the lookout for. Henkel's is a German knife company that makes really nice cutlery. And I had this chef's knife plus 2 steak knives that sold for $40 total. It was in a knife block I got from a garage sale for 10 bucks, along with a bunch of KitchenAid and other kind of B-list brands. And the rest of the knives sold in a bundle for, I think, 30 bucks. So all in all, this was a pretty big win. I expected the Henkel's knives to sell first. That was not the case. This brand was in my overrated brands video, and this is a polo shirt from Paul & Shark that sat for absolute months before it sold for 18 bucks. Good size, 2XL, color was fine. No reason this should have taken so long to sell, except that the demand for the brand is not as high as once it was. This one was a win, but it was also a bit of a disappointment. I apologize for the dismal quality of these photos. This was taken when I was living in LA and fooling around with a new DSLR camera, and also trying to take photos outdoors as an experiment, and that is not the way to photograph suits. So this is a Zenya Trofeo, which is top of the line Zenya, and I bought this for $40 from a thrift store, expecting it to sell for around $500. And that didn't happen. It was up way pre-COVID, sat on this for a long time. Finally sold for $150, which is a deep discount. That's a very good price to get a Trofeo suit. Would I pick it up again? Yes, I would. Would I price it at $500? No, I would not. I would probably price it at $200 at the max and take a lowball offer or send out lowball offers. Here's one that I sourced just on instinct. 100% linen Lucky Brand Pearl Snap Western shirt. Got this for pretty cheap, around $1 from Swap Meet, also called a flea market, and sold for 28 bucks and sold really quick. So Lucky Brand jeans, awesome sellers. Their shirts are okay, but something like this that had all of those variables at play, linen, Pearl Snap Western, and an XL in good condition, that computed to a fast sale, and so it was. Also, in a previous video, I think I got this for around 5 bucks, sold for 60. Didn't even have to sit on it for all that long. It was a metal sign wall hanging for a brewery. Brewery stuff is awesome. Not all breweries are created equal, but this does great in clothing as well, t-shirts. There's going to be another brewery item coming up, a t-shirt that I sold. Breweries are great. It's kind of funny. I bought these thinking that they would float and that I would just use them for bass fishing myself, but they don't. They sink. If you are a bass fisherman, this is a bit of a head scratcher. It's a soft plastic version of a hard plastic topwater bait that does not float. And it had no track record. I couldn't find an account of this particular lure anywhere on the internet, and I listed it, and it still sold for $8. So it's an illustration of how strong the fishing lure market is. An oddity here, I would not pick this up again. It was a slide rule, vintage slide rule that I eyeballed at being worth around $50 when I bought it at a Goodwill, but it wasn't worth nearly that. It sold for $20, and I think I bought it for at least $5. Wouldn't necessarily pick this one up again. Another suit that sold for cheap, $89 for an Indochino. And this was a really good one. Look, it has surgeon's cuffs. That's what it's called when the cuff buttons actually unbutton. Working cuffs or surgeon's cuffs. And it was a really nice suit, high quality. Had this listed for $150 forever. Dropped the price, someone grabbed it. Here's a Harley button down that I got for, or button up rather, that I got for $7 at a swap meet. Sold almost right away for $25. Just great, bread and butter flip. The button shirts sell better than the t-shirts typically, with exceptions, of course. But this was a very fast sale. So I guess I have two beer shirts that sold. This was a local San Diego Ballast Points, San Diego Padres themed beer shirt. Didn't sell as quickly as I thought it would. Simply, I think, because it's so regional, but $15. Got this for free in that OfferUp score. A new bracelet in its original box, sold for $15. Here's something I got at a swap meet for $5. Sold right away. Ron John surfboards. Ron John stuff, almost 100% sell-through. It's a Florida-based surf company, and these long sleeve shirts are good sellers, and I think this was vintage as well. Great flip. Yet another questionable brand, Bugatti Omo. It was questionable to begin with, and I think has gotten worse over time. But 100% linen, 2XL, with the old wood background, so this was sitting for way too long, and come spring it sold. I don't want to give the impression that all 100% linen shirts will sell. Brand still matters, color matters, size matters, but you're going to have a much easier time flipping 100% linen stuff right now. Here's a pair of vintage Burberry slacks that sold for $31.49. Got these for around $5, I believe. That's the vintage Burberry. It'll be plural, Burberrys. That means that it's old. This was a gift from Heroin Bob. Thank you very much once more. A Columbia short sleeve button-up shirt that sold for $13.49. If you can find this stuff for dirt cheap, it's still worth flipping. The Columbia PFG stuff is what you want, but bread and butter basic Columbia stuff, if you can get it for really, really cheap, and you can price it for really, really cheap, makes sense. And this sold almost right away, and I think it's because I included the fishing keyword in the title, because it fits the profile of being a fishing shirt with this big front pocket, and because it's omni-shade. Fishing shirt, that's a very powerful key phrase. Include it in your title whenever you think you can get away with it. Another gift from Heroin Bob. This lot of 3 sold for $22. Just basic activewear t-shirts. Pair of 560s sold for $36.50 in a somewhat unusual size, 42-32. Another freebie that I got off of OfferUp. This lot sold for $25, had 0 into it. Shipped out, padded flat rate, so pure profit there. Got this at a garage sale for $5. It's the complete MacGyver, all the DVDs. Didn't bother to test every single DVD, but had it listed at $99. Someone offered $90. Got these for free off of, I think, Craigslist a while ago, and finally sold for $17. Shipped out at a padded flat rate. Don't recommend selling kids' shoes unless you can get them for free. I'm sure there are people that make money doing it, but it's not something that I know anything about. Sold one of these scrub tops for 15. Got all of these for $1 each. Part of a huge scrub deal. New with tag scrubs are great. If you find new with tag scrubs for really cheap, like $1 or less, I would just pick them up. I was pretty amazed by how long this took to sell. Sold for 20 bucks. I think I probably had it a little bit overpriced. It was just a basic t-shirt. I think I probably should have priced this closer to maybe 17 or 18. Took a while, but it did sell. This was one of the highlights. So I had that whole video about these vintage lucite doorknobs and cabinet pulls. And I had this listed in a big lot of 82. Someone came in and offered, or just DM'd me asking how much to buy all of the ones that were in fair condition. So these were the ones with more flaws. There were 17 of them. And I kind of just wanted to get rid of them so that I could make one listing with the rest of these good condition ones and just piece them out without having to have all of the condition notes about the fair stuff. Would make for a confusing listing. So it was an opportunity to kind of offload this stuff and make my money back on the purchase. I think I spent $200 on everything, these plus a bunch of doorknobs. So I said I would sell it to them for $370 total. Not enormous money, but still made all my money back, plus some decent profit. So everything else that I sell out of this purchase is just going to be pure profit from here on out. And I'm going to make a new listing for these cabinet pulls and just sell them individually. Final eBay item is this Ballast Point t-shirt that I picked up at a swap meet for $2 and sold almost right away. Let's take a look at Poshmark now. I do Poshmark as well as eBay. I cross-list everything clothing onto Poshmark. It's very fast. I strongly advocate that you attempt to do the same. It's worth the time and effort. This is a Banana Republic basic jacket with a flaw, flip for 20 bucks. Another item from a previous video, this is a pair of cool women's hiking pants or jeans that sold for 33 bucks right away. I think the next day after listing them. And I got these for 10. This one was a bit of a misfire. You can tell from the old wood background, this took too long to sell, and terrible photos here. Madewell, pretty good brand. Thought this would sell for more than it did, 13 bucks. In terms of women's stuff, I don't trust myself nearly as much as I do with men's. Another one that I had for too long, way too long. This was a miss. Brooks Brothers Regent Brooks Cool sold for 25 bucks. Of course, the buyers are paying around $7 for shipping on top of this price. So if I picked it up for $1, then it might still be worth flipping. Pair of Mountain Hardwear shorts, another bag sale item. Great bread and butter sellers, 17 bucks plus 7 shipping. Mountain Hardwear, pretty strong right now. Another bag sale item that I just picked up because it was kind of eye-catching. Was fine with sitting on this for longer because it probably cost me less than a quarter. Sold for 7 bucks. Got this for, God, I don't know, probably around 7 from a flea market. Sold within 48 hours for 28 bucks, and I got this title again by looking up the style code on the tag. Pre-sip Eco Jacket Windbreaker. 28 bucks. Not huge money, but good money. Another gift from Heroin Bob. A lot of 5 North Face basic button-up shirts. Listed it for cheap. Sold almost right away. Final item is this Hot Wheels jacket that sold today for 25 plus 7 shipping. Just something I sourced with my eye. Based on the wood backgrounds, probably should have priced it lower. So there were lots of other sales, you know, in the like $8 to $15 range, just basic clothing stuff that wasn't remarkable enough to include. Hope this gives you some ideas of what to source and what's selling, and good luck, happy hunting.